Welcome into Weekly Champions here on Wrestling Spotlight. We're looking at what's been a really eventful week in the world of professional wrestling. Wrestle Dynasty happened over the weekend in New Japan Wrestling. Kenny Omega is back. He beats Gabe Kidd in what's been described as an all-time classic match. And that Gabe Kidd is the superstar that New Japan Wrestling's been looking for. The Young Bucks are the IWGP Tag Team Champions. And that is all back page, because the big story, see it on the screen right behind me, CM Punk, the voice of the voiceless, and Seth Freakin Rollins bring down the show on the first Raw on Netflix to a worldwide audience of 4.9 million same-day viewers. Wow. So I think everybody's got to be happy. Gerald, Bentley here in Wrestling Spotlight on the Weekly Champions. You're watching us on lots of great services, including TCL Plus, TrueTVPlus, Sports.tv, and Watchy TV. Joined by Sonny, the Man Eagle Cain. And Sonny, this had to be one of the biggest weeks in pro wrestling in years, and it's the first week of the year.
Yes, sir. I compared Monday Night Raw to being as good as WrestleMania 3 years ago when WrestleMania 3 got together. And just a legitimately sold out house. I mean, there wasn't an empty seat anywhere in the building.
Arena.
So 17,000 plus in the house.
So, yeah, and just to take a minute to let current events bleed into the world of wrestling, our prayers go out to everyone in Los Angeles. This event took place at the Inuit Dome, the new arena where the LA Clippers play, a beautiful facility. But what you're seeing right now in Los Angeles, Lakers game's been postponed. The Rams home playoff game just got moved from LA to Phoenix, Arizona, Glendale, Arizona, because of the tragic wildfires hitting Hollywood's Hills, Palisades, and 4 other fires raging in Los Angeles. Even affected the pro wrestling world directly, as Taya Valkyrie put on X that she had to get evacuated from her house. Everybody's safe, but the house may be gone, and it's thousands of houses and just horrible. So by all means, if you're able to reach out to Red Cross and make a donation, because a lot of the people don't have home insurance for fire because a lot of insurers stopped covering it. So it's really a bad situation. But this happened before that, so no fire came into LA, and yeah, it was an amazing attendance, and they really presented it like they've been presenting the PLEs with a limited number of matches, highlighting some celebrities, a couple of short talk promos, and then just go. And I don't know. I don't think the regular weekly Raw is going to be like this, but I do think you're going to see bigger matches and more prominent stars showing up and having legitimate PLE level matches on the weekly Raw show, because, Netflix isn't paying billions to get stuff that can be forgettable TV.
I agree, and it does make you wonder how the future weekly Raw segments are going to run compared to their very first one. But I think we're going to see larger attendance in the crowds, and I think WWE has come back on the map. I was surprised and amazed by several things that happened. Was real glad that Roman Reigns finally ended the Bloodline feud. And
let's talk about that first, because that's what kicked off the show. Roman Reigns against Solo Sikoa. Well, what kicked off the show was Triple H talking about the new era, and then The Rock the final boss, out of character. I mean, being himself, being what he is. He's on the TKO board of directors. I mean, he is legitimately one of the final bosses of the company. Talking about how it was the biggest gate in WWE arena history. That just means the tickets were really expensive and they sold out. But the first match was Roman Reigns going up against Solo Sikoa to be the tribal chief, get the Ulafala, the symbol of being in charge of the tribe. The wise man, Paul Heyman, did introduce him. And it was, I mean, right, it was basically a little bit more than you'd expect from the typical Roman Reigns Solo Sikoa matches with all the run-ins. Roman ends up winning with help from Jey Uso, Sammi Zayne, and the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Of course, Solo got help from Tama Tonga, from Jacob Fatu, and from Kevin Owens. So I guess the biggest question coming out of it is, I don't agree that the Bloodline feud's over at all, because I think you're still going to see matches spiraling out of it. And I think there may be a turn coming, because Roman is, I mean, he's the face in this feud, right? I mean, he is, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
What has he done outside of going after Solo to be a face? He was pretty heelish in Survivor Series. It was standoffish to CM Punk. Didn't reach out to get an extra teammate. He was perfectly okay to let the Usos and Sammi Zayne take a beating and go into the match 4 against 5. Yeah, he hasn't really changed at all. I think Drew McIntyre's right.
Well, I picked up on the line he said this week about everyone had changed but him. And he's still Roman even outside the character. So that shows me how much he puts his own self into what he's doing. And he's still calling the shots. He's still trying to make the deals, and even without the Nexus, he was still trying to lead the tribe. So he's not really budged an inch from where he was.
Yeah, I mean, is he really any different now that he's being cheered than he was when he was being booed? And even when he was being booed, he was still a beloved figure with like half of the crowd. Even at WrestleMania going against Cody, there were plenty of people holding ones up. It wasn't a decidedly anti-Roman crowd at that point. I think he knows that, and he wants to be in charge of everything. I don't think it's over yet at all.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, in terms of him getting the Nexus back, I think maybe
got the necklace, yeah.
From that angle, that part of the story may be over.
Well, mercifully, yes, that's over.
And I think we all breathed a sigh of relief on that. So at least I did. And a lot of cliffhangers in this match too. I thought a time or two he'd lose, and just the guys put in more finishing moves today than they did back in my day. Back in my day, if you had a solid finishing move, you could pretty much tell how the match
was over.
Might go and how much over it really was. But today they put in 4 or 5 moves that could be the finish, and it really keeps you on the edge of your seat if you're rooting for the guys that wrestling each other. So it's just a different time frame.
Yeah, no, there was a bunch of false finishes, very hard-hitting match, and Roman Reigns ends up standing tall, and you can't really say the outside interference hurt the match at all, because that's what his matches have been. He hasn't been there. Yeah, I mean, for a brief period when he first came back, when it was wreck everyone and leave, he was just decimating people. But since then, this has kind of been it. He needs help to get through there. Maybe he doesn't need the help, but he's definitely become accustomed to the help and has used it, you know? So it wasn't really terribly surprising, but it was a good match. And
I was surprised
I liked
how
your
long it
point
lasted.
too. Yeah. For the two of them, yeah. Because they're not small guys, so them going a half hour, that's a pretty good match, because Solo's a big guy, and Roman doesn't usually wrestle terribly long matches, and when he does, the pace is very methodical.
All right. So, but
go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say, I liked your point talking about WrestleMania 3, because that was a shift in eras. And we're working on having Keith Elliott Greenberg on. He's got a book coming out, wrestling journalist. He's got a book coming out about how WrestleMania 3 was the night that changed everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's coming out soon from ECW Press. We're going to have him on here. I actually sat with him at All In London. He was talking about the book getting ready to come out. It's finally coming out. So that'll be neat to talk to, because I think this is a different era. I think we're going to see a very different level of presentation. And the matches that you see on WWE TV are going to stay closer, maybe not quite to the level that you see on AEW, but I think it's going to get closer. You're going to see harder matches, more competitive matches, and more PLE level matches, especially if they're going to continue with the shorter PLEs, except for the big 2-night extravaganzas. They got enough talent. They need to get the matches out there anyways.
I agree. And it's just flipped again from where they were at WrestleMania 3, because now the stadiums are so much larger, and it's like, what can we do to keep entertaining the public, the people that come to see the shows? And you have to keep your storylines going. You have to keep it from being humdrum and predictable. And then those are things that I've been talking about now for several weeks, about not making it so predictable. So,
yeah, well, I think people were pretty happy with another match that, we've been waiting for a while. It's just been a matter of time before the Eradicator, Rhea Bloody Ripley, got her hands on Liv Morgan, Dirty Dom, and Raquel Rodriguez. And even with the best efforts of Dirty Dom and Raquel Rodriguez, Rhea Ripley, even taking Liv Morgan's finisher off a steel chair, she comes away with the win, and her championship is back. So from SmackDown on Friday to Raw, you have 2 new women's champions, because Sonny, it's Tiffy time. Tiffany Stratton cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase. She's your new champion on SmackDown. And Rhea Ripley gets her title back, and you don't want things to be predictable. I think that was very predictable, but I think everybody wanted to see Rhea Ripley get a hold of Liv Morgan. And that's another story that's been building for quite a while. And it tied into the premium live event feel of this episode, this premiere, because it did put a conclusion on it. It was a huge story that still can go back. I mean, that can still be your WrestleMania main event. It can be a rematch.
I agree. I told you some time ago I'd been watching Tiffany and how she was conducting herself and carrying herself in the ring, and that really was pleasing to see her come out and capture the gold. And
on Friday, yeah.
Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, man, what a match. That was another match that had me on the edge of my seat, and hats off to Rhea Ripley. She did it in a professional fashion. I thought it was interesting when the girls kind of ran out of things to do in the ring for a minute. They all just sort of sat there and looked at each other and said, "What now?" So and that's how it happens sometimes, because you know how long you have, but you run through it so fast until you don't realize you've already done 5 or 6 things, and you still got, say, 10 minutes left. And what now? So, but I think she'll have the belt for a little while now, and was pleased to see that it went over on television. That's just something that's usually saved for pay-per-view type shows.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm hoping going forward that we see more title drops on television along with the regular pay-per-view shows, because it brings a different element to the suddenness of it, I think.
Makes it more must-watch, right?
Right.
And they're definitely going for that, and you're putting the big matches on the line. And I thought they did get a good job too, and it was subtle, of dropping in matches that are coming up on Friday. LA Knight, yeah, he got a big ovation from the crowd at the Inuit Dome. He's got a match coming up this Friday against Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke, your current U.S. champion, he took it with him. This would have never, ever happened in the old WWE. Took it with him to have a match in Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. So Shinsuke comes back from Japan, the reigning U.S. champion. He's got his rematch coming up with LA Knight on Friday night. That may be your next title change, because I could easily see Shinsuke Nakamura dropping that belt to LA Knight, and LA Knight carrying it into WrestleMania.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be LA Knight's night, and we'll just have to see how it carries out. But I can't see LA Knight not having a title at this point. So he's kind of built himself up the whole time, from what I can tell, and I think he needs to win sort of a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see the contest and see how athletic the two get in the ring while working each other.
Yeah, and it was good to see Shinsuke get a win and have the title, and I think it helped that he had the title when he went back to Japan, so it made it a bigger deal. But yeah, I think it's time for LA Knight to kind of snap into it, since he has those Slim Jim commercials. Now, let me ask you about another feature that was recurring throughout the night. We saw The Undertaker come in on his Harley, the American Badass, and acknowledge Rhea Ripley winning the championship. Of course, you saw The Rock come out and thank and hug Cody for being the guy carrying the company this year, which was interesting. John Cena did an in-ring promo talking about going on his last year and saying that he has as much chance of winning the heavyweight championship as he does winning an Academy Award, which playing the Peacemaker is probably not in the offing, but he is going into the Royal Rumble, so there's a chance, right? Right. Did you like how the legends were incorporated into the show? And of course, I'm not mentioning the one that got a lot of media attention, Hulk Hogan, receiving a course of booze when he came out to the Inuit Dome crowd.
I did like how the legends were being incorporated. I have some thoughts on Hogan and why they booed him. I think the last time one of the last times he was seen in the WWE, he was the Hulkster, and then he went to WCW and became the NWO head person. And I think WWE fans still feel a little bit betrayed by the flip in WCW. and fans don't forget. So it surprised me though how long they booed him. I mean, it wasn't just boo; it was a boo.
Yeah.
And
well, and
went.
then you
It
do
went
have
through.
some personal issues, and you have his political involvement. So he has been divisive over the last few years, and there is some controversy surrounding him too. So, I, I
And
mean,
he seemed so
he's still
surprised
a
by
living
booze.
legend. Yeah.
Absolutely, I'd shake his hand. So I mean, I don't have any hard feelings against him,
Oh
and I
yeah. I mean,
understand both sides of the
the
coin. So
the industry isn't where it is now if there wasn't a Hulk
a
Hogan,
Hulk Hogan.
a Ric Flair who has his own personal issues that have become news stories and have turned some people off. But if the Nature Boy wasn't there, if Hulk Hogan wasn't there,
If
Dusty
Ricky Steamboat
Rhodes,
wasn't there,
yeah, Randy Savage, you don't have what you have now because they were the guys. And like you mentioned, WrestleMania 3, that's what changed everything. And you can throw Starrcade in there as well from the
sure.
NWA. Those are the events that created what you have now. So I think it was good they were involved. And I understand people being upset with Hulk, but it probably went on a little bit too much. Because, I mean, he's,
Well, that was my
he's who
general
he is.
impression. It even went on throughout his promo bit that he was trying to do, and I thought, goodness gracious, how's he going to come through this? And he was great. He just went backstage, had a couple of beers, shook it off, and kept moving.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, he is a professional. Jey Uso coming out to the ring with Travis Scott. I'm sure you got the Travis Scott music beating in the background during the day. But Travis Scott, one of the most popular entertainers in the country right now, he's doing the new theme song to Raw. He walked Jey Uso out, and Jey Uso gets the win over Drew McIntyre. But
Shocked me a little bit.
I like where Drew McIntyre is going because he does complain, he does whine a lot, but I think he's got a point that look at everything that Roman Reigns and the Bloodline did to tear people down. Why are you rallying behind him? And it gives Drew something to fight back against.
I agree. I was surprised during the Drew McIntyre match, but anyway, you never know how things are going to go in certain matches, and that's what makes wrestling wrestling. You can look at a thing and say it's this way, and then when the guys get together, it turns out another way. But Jey Uso has impressed me for a little while now, and I think great things are going to come to him this year, and I'm excited for him and can't wait to see what he can deliver as he proceeds forward.
And then to wrap up the Monday Night Raw main event, it was a tremendous match. I was quite impressed. I think CM Punk has been used perfectly when he's been healthy in WWE, limiting his time to get into the ring and having really some terrific matches. Went up against Seth Freakin Rollins. They were taking turns using each other's finishing moves. CM Punk used the curb stomp. Seth used the GTS and hit CM Punk with a couple of them. A great spot, the pedigree on the announce table. And at the end, CM Punk comes out victorious. And he is marching his way, if he stays healthy, for his WrestleMania moment, because that is the promise that the wise man Paul Heyman made to him to take part in the Survivor Series. And he's got the momentum on his side now. Big win over Drew McIntyre, and now a big win over Seth Rollins.
And I agree, and I was surprised at how far back he and Seth Rollins actually went when they revealed it in the interview. My understanding was CM Punk had actually trained Seth Rollins and or at least in the very beginning of things, and people were just in awe that they had known each other that long, and
Sure.
that's how it goes sometimes. I mean, two guys will go down the same road and then they'll meet up again. But not taking anything away from Seth Rollins either. I think Seth Rollins has a bright future ahead of him too. And and back to what you said a little bit earlier tonight, this might not be the last time that they end up meeting again. So, I guess we'll see
Oh,
see
no.
what happens.
Well, and there was some reality in the promos as well, some stuff that really hit home. Seth Rollins talking about, hey, you left, I stayed. 100% true, right?
Right? 100% true.
So now you got that intrigue to watch. I thought they did a really good job of building up future events. And like you mentioned earlier, they built up the championship for the undisputed title, where Cody Rhodes is going to have that match against Kevin Owens by working that in to the Roman Reigns Solo Sikoa match, which I don't think is going to be I think it's going to be a great match. I mean, they're two of the best performers out there. I don't think Kevin Owens is winning, but it will be a great match.
Well, I've been a little surprised by how it's played out. The sportsmanship of it has been a concern of mine. Just walking over and picking up the title and leaving the ring with it, and not having any consequences of that. And even when the WWE officials came down and talked to Kevin Owens and asked him to turn the belt back over, they let him walk out the room with it. So it's not all Kevin Owens' fault at this point. If they're going to angle it that way, my question is, I guess what I've been stuck on is how the younger audiences see that, and you got to be careful in the storyline sometimes how you present something. If he wanted the match from Cody Rhodes, he should have been the better man and just come out and ask Cody for the match without going to the extreme level that he's done in my personal opinion. So.
Yeah, true. Well, I think though it's tying in because Cody doesn't back down from something, so he's going to go and challenge him. And Kevin Owens also took out Cody's, I guess you'd say, closest friend in WWE and Randy Orton. So you may well see Randy Orton come back and get involved in the match as well. And it's coming up pretty soon. It's February 1st. So the road to WrestleMania is definitely on. And Triple H even said this was the start of it, this first Raw on Netflix. So it's coming up soon. And, when the Royal Rumble hits, now it's really go time because, of course, we'll see the person who wins pointing at the sign in the corner. And You've already seen people standing on the turnbuckles pointing to the corner. CM Punk did it. There wasn't even a sign yet. He just said, I can see it. So it's coming. It's right around the bend here. I wanted to mention too, we mentioned AEW. They had their second show on Max, and I thought they started it out with a absolutely tremendous matchup, which is something that you never used to see on TV. I mean, we talked about WrestleMania 3 being the difference maker. You didn't used to see really intense matches on weekly TV. You saw a lot of squash matches. We saw Will Ospreay, fresh off of a double match pay-per-view, easily two of the best matches of last year at World's End, Kyle Fletcher and Okada. He opens up the show going up against Buddy Matthews, formerly the acolyte to Seth Freakin Rollins when he was the Monday Night Messiah. He was Buddy Murphy there. And they had a crazy intense match showing, which Buddy hasn't gotten that many opportunities to show, that he is one of the most talented professional wrestlers in the world, period. It's good to see him get a little bit of a push. I know AEW has their big event coming up in Australia in February, so I'm sure Buddy is going to be prominently featured in that along with Kyle Fletcher. But brings about a little controversy because the story keeps floating up, and the end of the match after Will Ospreay wins with the Styles Clash and then the Hidden Blade, and it was a Hidden Blade directly to Buddy's face. Will Ospreay took the time to acknowledge that Buddy is a great wrestler and that he doesn't need a leader. And Brody King doesn't need a leader. They could be tag champions or singles champions. So seems like the House of Black is going to be down a leader as Julia Hart's back. Brody King's been featured prominently, and Buddy is getting in the mix now. But conspicuous by his absence was one Malachi Black.
Well, when you have a story and you're angling the story, sometimes a guy won't be there, and it's happened in past history of storytelling, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen next. I've been watching it for a minute, and it's got me highly intrigued. So I can't wait to see what comes next in the story.
Yeah, and one other story I wanted to mention: the women's three-way matchup to determine the next number one contender to Mariah May's title. You had Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and a amnesiac Toni Storm thinking she's a rookie and trying to copy moves that were being done by Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale and just making rookie mistakes. Well, Toni Storm ends up losing. She gets the Wednesday Night Fever from Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander gets a win after losing those two clashes on the pay-per-views against Mercedes Moné. So Chris Statlander goes up against Mariah May, but I don't think Statlander wins the title. But I think you're going to see this continuing three faces of Toni Storm, and eventually we'll see Toni Storm take Mariah May down and reclaim her championship. Well, what do you think about the character work that Toni Storm's doing?
I think it's fantastic to see her go from the quality athlete that she is to making rookie mistakes and doing the change. Anytime you can cross over like that, that's a sure sign of perfection. And I've been a Toni Storm now since at least the time that you and I started working together here on Wrestling Spotlight, and it just continues to blow me away with her concept of herself, and she's putting herself out there. She doesn't mind losing or messing up, and that's what I look for in a future champion. Because if you ever get a real arrogant champion, it doesn't impress me as much as someone who does the build up. Case in point, kind of Ric Flair in the beginning of his journey was like that. He'd mess up and he'd talk about it later, and he'd be less confident sounding than he would many years down the road. So it goes with the territory sometimes. But I'm excited for Toni Storm, and I think she does have a title coming to her in the not so distant future.
Yeah, I mean, it may well be at All In, as that's the big event for AEW this year, the one that's taking place in July in Arlington Stadium, the Rangers Stadium this year, as opposed to in England. England's going to be Forbidden Door. But I think you're going to see a lot of AEW events building and feuds building up to All In. They do have Revolution coming up in March. That's their next pay-per-view. The Australian show, it looks like it's going to be an event on Max or like a 2-part, and that'll be your Dynamite and Collision. It's not going to be a pay-per-view, but it will definitely be interesting. That's their big show coming up in February. And then the next pay-per-view, Revolution, in March. Sonny, any other wrestling stories that popped up throughout the week that you wanted to mention?
Just a couple, sir. At least a couple.
Yeah.
Plans to bring back Steve Austin to Monday Night Raw were scrapped. No real information on why that happened. I think maybe it was the Bucks or something like that. Steve's 60 now. I actually met Steve Austin in the Dorton Arena years ago when he was a Hollywood Vaughn. And I met him up again on Twitter when I was a historical consultant and outreach associate for Rockwind for a wrestler. Super nice guy.
I think he'll be back at some point. We may well see him at WrestleMania.
Well, I've been predicting that now for months, so it's just a matter of getting him pinned in, I suppose. Kurt Angle challenges and then beats an MMA fighter in the ring. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I did notice that, yeah.
A fighter bullied Kurt Angle a little bit, and Kurt said, "Come on," and Kurt showed him why he's a former Olympian.
Yeah, Olympic medalist, yeah.
It worked out. Charlotte Flair heading back to the fold sooner than later are the reports on that. But I have noticed she's still wearing the knee brace. So I'm wondering if she's going to be 100% or if she's going to wear some kind of orthopedic knee brace to help her leg situation. And
well, having had multiple knee surgeries, my doctor, who was the head of orthopedics at Cleveland Clinic, said that the knee brace is just in your head. It doesn't really do anything. So we'll see. It's mainly just a peace of mind thing. But yeah, we'll see if she wears it or not. I do think she's going to be back really soon. That's another person I think will be back before WrestleMania, especially with the 2 new titles now, because you have the Women's Intercontinental and the Women's U.S. Champion. So you got plenty of titles to go after.
And my question is, if Rhea Ripley holds on to the title long enough, will she be going up against Charlotte? Because Charlotte's not going to be in the lower ranks after having been on top for so long. So I just can't picture her wearing an extra crown.
But sure.
Raw, according to Triple H, might be moving to a new night on Netflix. Have you heard that one?
No, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
I don't either. They did post on social media platform, and I think he would be highly booed too if he were to move it off Monday night.
No, they got 5 million viewers, and you can watch it whenever you want to since it's on streaming, so it doesn't really matter. A couple things I wanted to mention too. I do think Lyra Valkyria will end up becoming your women's U.S. champion, and I want to give a little praise to Julia, the New Japan and Stardom signing to NXT. She is now your NXT Women's Champion. So lots of stuff happening in WWE. It's been really eventful.
Breaking news on Ric Flair's final match. He has decided not to compete due to health concerns.
Yeah, so
that's been scrapped. And that's it for me.
Okay, fair enough. Well, hey, let's wrap it up here as we roll into the week. Get our champion of the week here, and we'll go to that.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Taya Valkyrie La Buena Loca, and you are watching Wrestling Spotlight.
So who's your champion of the week, Sonny? Take your pick here. Got the big belts. You got the belts there. Who's the winner?
The big winner for me, I have to, but the big number one winner for me is Rhea Ripley. She just really impressed me on Monday Night Raw, picking up her title. And my second champion of the week is Mercedes Moné for getting her 4th title. in AEW. That's highly impressed me. I've told people she's someone to watch and someone to fear. So she's proven me right so far.
She won the Rev Pro title, the British women's title, for Mina Shirakawa in Wrestle Dream, Wrestle Dynasty. And after she won the Rev Pro title, Rev Pro's online service had a jump of 20% of subscribers. So
that's awesome.
She did make some money moves to go with her name of Mercedes Monet. So yeah, she was definitely on top this week. And I'm going to go with Kenny Omega for making it back, having an amazing match against Gabe Kidd at Wrestle Dynasty, and following it up with his return to AEW Dynamite in the main event segment. He's going to get into the AEW ring against Brian Cage, the Machine, a member of the Don Callis family, coming up next week. And Brian Cage said this is the match that he wanted when he signed with AEW 5 years ago. So this should be a really terrific match with, I'm sure, plenty of outside interference from the Don Callis family. So it's great to see Kenny Omega back in the ring because he was almost dead. The doctors told him when he went in to get checked for the diverticulitis, he didn't know what it was. It turned out it was diverticulitis. Doctor told him that if he hadn't come in, he could have died.
Wow.
Because it was that bad of an infection. So an amazing comeback. It's a year and a half in the making. It's definitely something to tune into on TBS or Max and stream it. And that's coming up next week. Well, Sonny, thanks a lot for stepping in the ring here. Thanks to everybody for watching us on TrueTVPlus, on Sports.tv, on TCL Plus TV, Watchy, Carbon TV, and all the other services. Glad to be here in 2025. It's going to be a great year for pro wrestling. We're seeing it already just off the first week. And Sonny, if people want to touch base with you, communicate with you, where can they do it?
They can communicate with me on my social media with Real Sonny Cain at Sonny Cain, Real Sonny Cain on X, excuse me. Instagram, Sonny Cain at Sonny the Man Eagle Cain, and Sonny Cain on Facebook at Sonny the Man Eagle Cain.
Awesome. Well, hey, have a great night, and thanks for stepping in the ring. And everybody, stay tuned for more sports and entertainment right here on Wrestling Spotlight. Have a great night.